In the year 2005, Mr. Lim Swee Say and Mr. Lim Boon Heng called for more protection for contract and part-time workers. They even urged the government to crack down on employers who exploit them, and also pointed out that labor laws cover such workers as well. Both of them argued that these workers should at least get their CPF, medical needs, annual leave, and training. Mr. Lim Swee Say also added, quote, "A growing number of contract workers may be deprived of these because of market practices. Contract workers are often employed in jobs such as production operators, office cleaners, storemen, and security guards. They earn very low wages and are in a very vulnerable position and are not able to negotiate terms and conditions with their employers. Very often, they are ignorant of their rights as well, and they accept the conditions of the employers as standard practice, when it's not standard practice at all. The government, the employers themselves, and the unions have a duty to protect the rights of contract and part-time workers. How can they protect the rights of the contract and part-time workers? Number one, by ensuring that Singapore's employment laws like the CPF Act, Employment Act, and Workmen's Compensation Act are included in the contracts. Number two, ensuring that all contract workers have a written contract and not just something that is a verbal agreement which specifies their rights like appointment, working hours, salaries, benefits, etc. Number three, not awarding a project to the highest bidder, but check if the bidder has sufficient cash outflow. Why is this very important? Because this will prevent the problem of financially distressed employers not paying their contract workers. Number four, abolish the law which says that the contract worker has got to be in employment for a minimum of 6 months before he can be entitled or qualify for employment benefits. And these pointers should not be mere guidelines or advisory, but should be enforced as regulatory, as it is already enshrined in the labor laws of Singapore. International labor rights calls for the right to work with equal pay, with just and favorable conditions, and for remuneration that ensures an existence of human dignity with protection against unemployment. This also extends to the right to form trade unions and to rest and leisure time, including periodic paid leave, all of which builds to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of the employee and their family. These rights are also those of the contract workers. Thank you.
Friends, I can safely say, unfortunately, we have much ground to cover before we get to the point of saying that we have a fair and safe work environment for people who are HIV positive. To get to that ideal state, we must address certain issues in the workplace, starting with stigma and discrimination. The Ministry of Manpower, the Singapore National Employees Federation, and the Health Promotion Board developed a set of guidelines on HIV infection and AIDS in the workplace in 1993, which was then revised in 2002 with a focus on stigma reduction, awareness creation, and education. However, as guidelines, they do not carry the same weight or persuasion as the law would. The Infectious Diseases Act, which provides for protection of confidentiality in the medical environment, does not specify penalties for personnel who disclose a staff member's HIV status. Also, there is no specific clause that protects a HIV-positive person from dismissal on account of his zero status. The International Labour Organization, in its Code of Practice on HIV/AIDS in the World of Work, has specified 10 principles that all employers must ideally adhere to. They are recognition that HIV and AIDS is a workplace issue, zero tolerance for stigma and discrimination, understand gender equality, or in many cases inequality, integrate into the workplace health promotion programs, engage in social dialogue with people who are HIV positive, disallow HIV screening for employment, protect confidentiality, continue the employment relationship with their HIV positive staff, emphasize prevention for staff members who are HIV negative, and provide care and support to their affected staff. Now, I'd like to share with you a statement made by a HIV positive woman. She says, if you take away our jobs, you will kill us faster than the HIV virus. We can work, we pose no risk to our co-workers, work keeps us going and enables us to bring home food and the medicine we need to keep us alive and active. This statement was made by an anonymous HIV positive person, but the message is universal and is so applicable right here in Singapore, where we have hundreds of HIV positive workers who face the reality of losing their jobs if their employers ever found out. And we must ensure and we must make the commitment today as Singaporeans that we will respect the right to work in a safe environment for all our people, including Singaporeans who are HIV positive. Thank you.
How many of you know exactly what percentage of the Singapore workforce is gay, lesbian, or transgender? No takers, right? Nobody knows. I don't know either. Why is that so? Why is it that nobody knows how many gay Singaporeans there are, how many lesbian Singaporeans there are? Well, there are many reasons for this, and one of the main ones is that sexual relations between men in the privacy of their homes is criminalized. And because it is so, nobody in his right mind would want to own up that he's a criminal. It's like telling the public, I'm a thief or I'm a murderer. So a lot of discrimination against gay and lesbian and transgender Singaporeans stems from this cause. But the gay and lesbian community is largely a hidden one. How many of you have got colleagues whom you know for sure are gay? Oh good, there are a few of you. So these are very brave people to have come out to you. Either that or you're very tolerant to be able to accept them for what they are. But to a large extent, many gays, lesbians and transgender people in Singapore hide their identities. They don't want to come out because of the shame associated with being gay or lesbian or transgender in Singapore. And this is something we have to change, because gays and lesbians are every much as Singaporean as you or your colleague. And it's not that there's no discrimination faced by gay and lesbian Singaporeans. There is, but it's quite mild. But there is one profession in which discrimination is quite great. Can anyone guess what that profession is? Okay, since nobody wants to guess, I'll tell you, it's the teaching profession. Because there is this paranoia in schools and within the Ministry of Education itself, that if a teacher were to come out as gay, he would influence his students to become gay. Well, this is just irrational fear, and it gives rise to irrational hate, which makes gay Singaporeans feel very maligned. There is a great injustice that we feel. So it is your bounden duty as fellow Singaporeans to support the repeal of Section 377A, which gives rise to all this discrimination that we face. So these are mild forms of discrimination, and we can't compare that to the abuses heaped on foreign workers and the threat of dismissal of pregnant mothers, but there is discrimination nonetheless. And as responsible citizens who value the company of your friends, your colleagues, your family, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, we should remove discrimination against them as much as possible. So it's in the interest of everyone, for the sake of fairness, for justice, for equality. If you are a minority, you're a minor race Singaporean, you're a woman, you've experienced any form of discrimination before in your life, you know what it feels to be discriminated against, and it's just right that you should reduce and even abolish the discrimination that we face. Thank you very much.